Lytudiep. Hello dear friends. Welcome back to my channel. After so many stories of Jame and Diep, do you think Jame is a good person? Is it true that Jame always secretly helps Diep? Let's find out today. The afternoon sun was fading over the pineapple hill, and the wind carried a sweet scent through the rows of green leaves. Jame sat quietly, looking down the narrow dirt road that led to the small town. His hands were rough with soil and dust, but his eyes were soft, filled with the warmth of someone who carried a secret joy inside. For weeks, he had worked endlessly, shipments across borders, meetings before sunrise, phone calls that never seemed to stop. But beneath the noise and weight of it all, there was only one person who filled his heart: Diep. Diep was unlike anyone James had ever met. She was gentle, shy, and her eyes spoke more than her lips ever could. Born in a poor village, she had grown up humble and quiet, always carrying a trace of insecurity about her background. After a painful event, she left the city behind and returned to her family's old farm, a crumbling house surrounded by overgrown grass and fading memories. For her, it wasn't just a home, it was a place her soul still recognized. James's mother once told him, "If she finds peace there, let her be. But if there's something you can do to make her happier, do it. Don't talk about it, just act." He took her words to heart. From that day on, he began to act quietly, patiently, and wholeheartedly. He went to see his friend Duck, a pineapple farmer who owned land on a quiet hill near town. Under the blazing sun, they stood surveying the land, lush, peaceful, bordered by a small stream. "I want to buy this land," James said softly. "Not for me, for her. A small house, a vegetable garden, a fence of hibiscus. That's all." Duck chuckled, half teasing. "Are you planning to propose?" James shook his head and smiled. "Not yet. She's still young. She's been through too much. I just want a place waiting for her when she's ready." From then on, he planned every detail. He arranged to have water drawn from the stream, hired workers to level the soil, studied the direction of sunlight so the house would always wake with warmth and rest in cool shade. The pineapples grown there were called duamat, honey pineapples, and James decided to name the place Honey Hill. To him, the name carried more than the taste of sweetness. It was a symbol of love that ripens slowly, quietly, and without pretense. Days passed, filled with business, travel, and exhaustion. His mother saw how he pushed himself and gently said, "Love her, but don't let her worry for you." James only smiled, because he knew everything he did, every drop of sweat, every sleepless night, was for Diep. Meanwhile, at her old farm, Diep spent her days cleaning, planting new flowers, patching old walls. Sometimes the loneliness felt heavy, but somehow, whenever she needed something, a sack of chicken feed, new seeds, even a broken scale, someone always sent it, just when she needed it most. There was never a name attached, but she knew it was him. One afternoon, she stopped by to visit her old neighbors. The elderly couple looked at her in surprise, eyes wet with emotion. "We haven't seen you for so long. Child, where have you been?" She smiled softly. "I got lost for a while. Had to walk nearly 150 kilometers before someone helped me find my way back." The old man sighed with relief. "Thank goodness you're safe." She nodded. "I'm safe because someone was always watching over me." She didn't say his name, but in her heart, she whispered it. One early morning, she received a message asking her to come to the pineapple hill. When she arrived, the sun was just rising, bathing the land in golden light. In the middle of the clearing stood a small wooden house, still smelling of fresh timber. The roof tiles glowed red, and smoke curled gently from the chimney. James stood there, his shirt stained with earth, his face tired but smiling. "What is all this?" she asked, her voice trembling. He looked at her, eyes warm and calm. "It's a place where you can be at peace," he said, "a place that belongs to you. You don't have to leave your home, and you don't have to be alone." Diep's eyes filled with tears. She had never imagined that love could be so quiet, so patient, so full of care. He had never once said, "I love you," but she had never needed to hear it. Every action, every small kindness, every thought he put into this place, it was love, in its purest form. That evening, as the sun dipped behind Honey Hill, James sat on the steps beside his mother. She smiled, eyes gentle and knowing. "Now you understand," She said, "Love isn't about what you say, it's about what you do." He nodded silently, his gaze following too deep as she watered the small garden outside. The sunset painted her hair gold, like melting honey, and in that quiet moment, his heart whispered words that the wind seemed to carry away. "I love you, not with words, but with everything I do." And there, on the gentle slope of Honey Hill, their love began, not loud or dazzling, but calm, enduring, and sweet as the fruit that grew beneath the sun.